What if you have rules around not being able to rent your home on Airbnb? Then what? Like, what about your HOA? What about your city regulations? Like, how does that play a factor when you're renting out your personal home?
That's a really good question. I would say I'm a rule follower, so follow your rules. Follow the rules of the HOA. Follow the rules of your subdivision. Um, yeah,
Huh? Pretty off on that one, huh?
you did.
You weren't expecting that one.
Uh-uh.
So these are some things that you gotta understand is that as much as like you just want to go do it, you got to understand what the rules are, right? And so certain HOAs, certain covenants say you can't rent your home out. And maybe they're against short-term rentaling based on if you're owner occupied or not. And so these are rules that you need to check in to make sure that you do it. That way, if it's part of something you're going to do consistently, like just know what your rules are, right?
Yes.
With that being said, what is the worst thing that could happen if you actually rent your home on Airbnb and it's against your rules? Like, what's going to happen? What's actually going to happen?
Someone's gonna come and slap your wrist.
They're going to slap your wrist, right? They're like you're not going to get fined. You're not going to go to jail. You're not going to get kicked out of your home. You're not going to lose your property. So ultimately,
They're just gonna tell you that you can't do it again.
yeah. Especially if it's your primary home, it's obviously not part of your business plan. I'm sure of it to rent your home on Airbnb. So if you're not quite sure, like again, you can push the rules, push the envelope, and the worst thing that's going to happen is that they're just going to slap your wrist.
So why would you go through all of this hassle and rent your house on Airbnb while you're gone?
Yeah, well, think about all the places you can go if you could literally travel for free. Like, where would you go if you could travel for free? Like, if you did not have, like, let's say you're going to go to Texas, or you're going to go to California, you're going to go to Utah, you're going to go to Arizona. Like, what if the place you were staying at was for free? Like, would that change how many times you could travel every single year?
Oh yeah.
And so that's essentially what this does, is it allows you to take a cost that you're going to have when you travel, a place to stay, and you could supplement that cost by renting out your home, which again, nobody's staying in it. And Katie, what happened 2 weeks ago? We went to our daughter's swim meet in Billings, Montana. Okay. What happened?
We rented our house out.
We did. And we also rented an Airbnb in Billings, Montana.
Yeah.
How much did the Airbnb cost in Billings, Montana?
It was bizarre. I think it was $217.
And how much did our house rent out for?
$216.
It was literally a wash, right? And so when you're able to get that expense paid for, it just changes maybe how frequently you can travel or where you can travel.
What if it doesn't pay for the entire trip?
Well, by golly, you were going to pay for the dang trip anyway, right? So just think of it as bonus, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What if it just pays for some of the trip? Would that at least help?
Yes.
And so it's just a way for you to utilize the resources you already have. If it's something that becomes an issue where you're like, I'm not sure if I can take this trip, I'm not sure if I can afford it. One of the words I hate the most is, I don't think I can afford it.
How can you afford it?
How can I afford it? What resources do I have access to? Right? How do I make this make sense? Okay. And this goes into our next point here, is that we're getting ready to leave for a trip on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Right? Are we putting our home on Airbnb?
Unfortunately, no.
So if you guys couldn't hear that noise right there, we actually have construction going on in our upstairs, right? We're remodeling our kitchen. That way we can like jack our prices up on Airbnb. No, not really. That's not why we're doing it.
I just want a nice kitchen.
I just want a nice kitchen. So that being said, this time we're actually not, because we have construction going upstairs. So if you do hear construction, that's why, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe we should. Maybe we should just rent a bedroom and a bathroom. We'll say no kitchen.
Should we do that? If anyone's on here listening, like, should we just try to rent our home on an Airbnb without? That would be great. There's no kitchen in this house right now.
Post a picture of this. There's absolutely no kitchen. It's destroyed.
That's funny. That would be funny. No, we can't do that because our contractor has his tools in here. We're not going to risk that for him. But anyway, okay. And so this goes back to the point of, you can get your home paid for that you're going on a trip to by your home. Let's start to use that same concept. What about cars? What about flights? Like, how do we get those things paid for? Like, if we, obviously those are the big expenses when it comes to traveling. We have our place we're staying, which now we have covered because we're going to put our home on Airbnb. But what about our car rental where we go somebody else? What about our flights to get there? Like, how do we get those things paid for?
Yeah, we actually have a few vehicles that we tour out while we're gone.
Oh.
which works out great.
What
So
is Turo?
Turo is basically Airbnb of cars.
Yeah. Wait, so do you rent out your cars to the tenants who come in your Airbnb?
No.
Okay. So keep going.
2 completely separate services, 2 completely separate people, prospects, potentially. Could be the same person if they both book. But no, we put our cars on Turo and we list them at a price that makes sense for us. And they book. Occasionally when we're gone, occasionally when we're here, and we just have another vehicle to drive. So we always have our vehicles. And that offsets travel expenses when we get to our destination. So basically commuting, whether we rent a car, whether we Turo, or whether we Uber while we're there, whatever it is, it just offsets that price a little bit.
Yeah. So that's a great option. And then what about flights? Like how does someone get free flights?
Yeah, free flights are a huge benefit to multiple credit cards. So if you have a lot of expenses and you put it all on a credit card and then you pay it off every month, you accumulate points, and all of those points can be used to purchase flights for free.
Yeah, so if you don't utilize credit cards for the right reasons, which is to accumulate points, so you're going to spend the money anyway, as long as you are responsible, you pay your payment every single month, then you literally just have free money by buying things, right? And if you have businesses, so if you're watching this and you're a business owner, like you should have a really good card with really good points because you probably have lots of expenses. Like we have tons of expenses, right?
Yeah.
And they all go through a credit card, which gives us lots of points. So we're able to travel with these points basically for free. Like sometimes we don't because we have a family, but if it's just you or just one, like if it's just me and Katie, we could definitely travel pretty easy. But we have those pesky kids. Those pesky kids are really expensive. They don't tell you that when you have them. They tell you that they're just so cuddly and they're so beautiful
but
and
they're
they
so
give you
worth
some love.
it.
And they're liabilities, right?
Yeah, they're going to be assets one day, though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, every single day we train them to become an asset, and then one day they will build this empire and take to the next level. So flights, points, right? That's how you get your flights paid for. And if you do it right, you can literally travel wherever you want for free because credit cards will pay for your flights. You can get your travel expenses paid for by doing Turo or having some sort of service where you can use your car while you're gone. And then, of course, put your home on Airbnb. And then think about all the places you could travel if you didn't have any of those expenses.
Yeah.
Like all the cool places. And again, that's just the type of thinking. There's like, those are just the things we've done. I'm sure that you have things in your life right now that you're like, oh, I could do this. I could rent this thing out. Like you have things that you use that somebody else would also use if you were just willing to share that thing. Right. And so, which goes back into one of our most important points is that me and Katie were talking about this before. It's like, it's not even much about as much about the money as is about this idea of abundance and this idea of sharing. And we both have used this as an opportunity for us to let go of our attachment to things, right? Our attachment to a home, our attachment to cars, our attachment to like things on the walls. When you start to realize that those things don't have like their value is super small in comparison to experiences and being able to go places with your family and going and doing certain things, trips, all of a sudden it becomes a really easy decision. Be like, yes, I'm willing to share my car. I'm willing to share my home. I'm willing to share these other resources that I currently have with somebody else that allows me to make it make sense for me to go with my family or to go on trips and to create these experiences, which are the things that really matter in life.
Yes, 100%. It has detached us from accumulating things as well. It's been great.
And so if it does nothing else for you, like use it as a great opportunity for you just to learn how to detach yourself from things. So here's a great example. Let's go back to Turo, right? This thing is not about Turo. But so last summer, I got a 2020 Corvette, right? Brand new Corvette, beautiful, C8 red, it's gorgeous, right? And I decided to put it on Turo, not because we needed the money, not because we're going on a trip in this instance. I just wanted to do it because so many people were just like, I would never do that. I would never
never let anybody else drive.
I would never let anyone drive my car, right? Every single person I would talk to said that. There was not one person who was like, oh, that's a great idea. Not one person. Not one person. And I did it. for that very reason, was just to like detach myself from something like, it's just a car, right? I don't care if it's $100,000. I don't care if it's the nicest car on the planet. Like, the goal for me was to share that, mainly for me. Like, it was cool. I like watching other people get in the car, and
the one person that did compliment you was actually the individual who drove it for the weekend. He was here on a work trip. He parked it at like the Hilton Inn or something, and he was like, "This is insane."
Yeah. And but it was honestly, it was just for me. It was for me to get over this idea of attachment, right? And so anyway, that's another lesson that can be learned in this whole process. Aside from just making money, right? That's cool. Also, for you to be able to travel for free, that's cool. But another piece of that equation would be as well just to understand that, like, the less weight that you give things, just the more clear you can get on what is important to you. Right?
Yes. And the first time that you hear this, you're probably like, I could never do that. I will never do that.
You're an idiot,
you guys
Logan.
are freaking crazy.
Totally fair.
And then the more that you hear it and the more that you watch people do it around you, you're like, wait a second. Maybe I could do that. Let's try that.
Yeah.